Good morning. Since the Indian military has identified the People's Liberation Army as its primary threat, please watch this video.
Breaking news. China unveils the future of war. This September, China will unveil a military spectacle unlike anything the world has seen before. Far beyond a show of strength, this upcoming parade is a chilling glimpse into the future of warfare.
Now, if this video is true, and I have no reasons to believe that it is not so because PLA has all these capabilities, then on the 3rd of September, when China will have its annual military parade, where it displays the cutting edge technologies and the platforms of the PLA which have been inducted in its inventory for the first time, the world will also see humanoid robots marching in the parade. Now, in my assessment, if this happens, the numbers will be no less than a CAB, which is a combined arms brigade. We will witness something like 3,000 to 5,000 humanoid robots marching on the 3rd of September, and this is a very big deal. It is a big news, but it is not an unexpected news. It was very much expected. Now, why I say it's a big news, a big deal is because humanoid robots, they are the ultimate manifestation of physical artificial intelligence, and this will signal that the PLA has already inducted AI in all aspects of its warfare, which includes the backdoor activities and actual combat. And if this be so, the PLA would have stolen a march over its peer competitor, which is the US military. But I said this was not unexpected. There are two reasons for that. The first reason is that ironically, the Indian military does not even realize that in the last 5 years of military standoff on the line of actual control, how much it has helped the PLA accomplish a major milestone, what is called the experimental phase. What this means is that today the PLA has large quantities of operational data sets with minimal or no biases, and this will be the basis for its AI applications, something I will discuss later. And the second reason is there are already 4 Chinese technology companies which are working on humanoid robots. One of the companies recently claimed that they can make up to 10,000 humanoid robots in a year. But again, this is no big deal because if China decides to ramp up the production of humanoid robots, it can have any number of production lines and have any amount of humanoid robots that it wants. So against this background, there are 3 questions that need to be addressed. The first question is, what is this new warfare of the PLA, or rather what has changed in warfare? The second question is, how has the Indian military contributed to the PLA's new warfare? And the third question is, hypothetically speaking, if there is a war between India and China, how will the Indian military play out against PLA's new war? All these 3 subjects require 3 videos, which I will do. So in today's video, I want to focus on what has changed in the warfare, give an overview of that. So 2 big things have changed. The first is the traditional battlefield has expanded to what I call battle space with 2 components. There is a war zone, which is the whole of nation, and there is a combat zone, which is the traditional battlefield. And the second is that both the nature and the character of war, they have changed. Now, nature of war is what a war is, character of war is how a war will be executed. Right in the entire recorded military history, it has always been a truism that the nature of war has never changed. Because when we say what a war is, war has always been associated with violence and bloodshed. So it never changed. But the character of war keeps changing constantly. For example, if there is a new technology that has got inducted. So it will require new war concept to optimize use of that technology, so the character of war changes. So it was somewhat etched in stone. Everybody said that without even thinking, that the nature of war never changes, but the character of war changes. What I want the Indian generals to note is that for the first time, because of the PLA, the nature of war changed in April 2024 when the PLA announced its reforms. This is a very big deal, and let me explain this. In April 2024, it was announced that PLA will have three new arms: Cyberspace Force, Aerospace Force, and Information Support Force. And these arms are basically capabilities which can work across all the domains. So it is a cross-domain capability. And given the importance of these capabilities, these three arms, they report directly to at the highest level, which is the Central Military Commission. Now let us look at these. As far as the Cyberspace Force and the Aerospace Force are concerned, they impact both the war zone as well as the combat zone, but the Information Support Force has a very important role to play only in the combat zone. So let me first talk about the war zone, which is a big thing. Because in the war zone, up till now, it was always said that it's all about nuclear weapons. Because nuclear weapons is what impacts directly at the highest political level of the nation. It has a cognitive effect. But nuclear weapons also, everybody knows, they are for deterrence, they are never for use. They've just been used once. Now as far as cyber is concerned, because the PLA acquired the capabilities both in cyber as well as aerospace, that a capability to impact at the highest level, which is the war zone, is what I want to explain now. As far as cyber is concerned, we are aware that over the years the PLA has done enormous number of cyber attacks. Any cyber attack is like an operation, a kinetic operation, after which you do a battle damage assessment, the lessons are learned and the lessons are applied to the next operation that you do. Similarly, in the case of cyber attacks, a battle damage assessment is done, and then subsequently next cyber attack is done for a better understanding of the digitization, what is going on and how hardened the things are, and what sort of a cyber attack they need. So based on all this data that is collected because of the battle damage assessment, then the PLA is in a good position to make the software weapons, the software counter force weapons, the software counter value weapons, and all that is required is three big things to make these software weapons, which the PLA has in ample. One is there is a need for accelerated computing, which today Huawei has the capability to do. The second is nanotechnology, in which China is a leader. And the third is the need for very good cyber warriors. Basically, the people who understand that AI is about mathematics, it is about software, it's about programming, so they are able to write sophisticated algorithms to make these software weapons. So all these three things are there, because we know as far as the AI is concerned, today China has 50% of the AI researchers in the world. So Chinese are very good at that. So the point to make is that a cyber war the world has never seen, world does not know what it is all about. But as I said, a lot of cyber attacks have been done. The PLA has made these weapons, so they are in a good position to plan a cyber campaign at the highest level, which will be done at the highest level, which is the CMC. And there the CMC, the biggest operational headquarters is the Joint Staff Department. That is where, in my assessment, the cyber planning for the war will be done. So this is about cyber, and through cyber we know that everything today in India is digitized. They can bring the entire civil life to a standstill because there are computers in the financial systems, they are there in the ATC, they are there in the railways, the power stations, the hospitals. Talk of it, they are everywhere. So everything can be brought to a standstill, which will have a direct impact on the political leadership. It is not about a battlefield which is miles and miles away. It is what's happening in the war zone itself, the whole of nation. So this is what is called, without firing a weapon, without violence, without bloodshed, you do a cognitive confrontation leading to a cognitive defeat of the enemy, and you change the nature of war. So this is the capability that the PLA has. Now let us look at the next thing. I just spoke about cyber. Let us look at aerospace force, as I said. Now in the aerospace force, what the PLA has done is, it has included the near space and the outer space. They both are the responsibility now of the aerospace force. When we talk of near space, we are talking of altitudes from 20 kilometers to 100 kilometers. Beyond that is outer space. And it is in this near space that they have their high altitude balloons, they can have high altitude airships, they can have their hypersonic glide vehicles, they can have their hypersonic cruise missiles, and they can have their high altitude drones which operate in near space. And as far as the PLA is concerned, they are giving a lot of importance to near space today in warfare. Now below that, which is from ground to 20 kilometers, is the normal activities which will be the responsibility of the PLA Air Force PLAF, where you will have the PLAF bombers, their fighters, their drones, everything will be here in this space till 20 kilometer altitude, and the responsibility of, under the responsibility of PLAF. Now as far as space is concerned, in the war zone, we know Bedu is today the number one global satellite constellation with 45 satellites. So there will be complete visibility of the entire war zone round the clock. And they have today, the PLA has weapons also in space. They have co-orbital ASATs, which is anti-satellites. That means they have the satellites which can displace our satellites from their orbit. Then they have the cyber capabilities, then they have the laser capabilities, both from the ground as well as space-based capabilities. So the point is, these are all non-kinetic capabilities which can change or will change the nature of war. Now let me come to the combat zone. What is happening there? Now as far as the combat zone is concerned, we know that the PLA started. PLA today can do three types of wars: the mechanized war, the informatized war, and the intelligence-sized war. It all started with the mechanized war, which is about automation, which is about platforms, which are the platforms. We talk about guns, we talk about ships, we talk about tanks. So with automation, if earlier there were 10 people required, now perhaps only 5 are required because of automation. And because of that, what the PLA has been able to accomplish in the PLA ground forces, which is also the PLA army, is that they could cut 5 lakh troops in 1997, 2 lakh troops in 2003, and 3 lakh troops in 2015. So they have already cut 10 lakh troops because of automation, because of the mechanized war. Now in 2014, we know that the PLA announced its major military strategy, under which two things were done. They announced that today they have the capability to fight in 6 domains of war. Now these 6 domains are in physical and in virtual battle space. In the physical battle space, you have land, air, sea, and space. And in the virtual, you have cyber and electromagnetic spectrum, or what you do from there, you do is electronic warfare. As I have repeatedly said in my earlier videos, of the two, the virtual battle space is extremely important because it is this continuum which is the cyberspace, the electromagnetic spectrum, and the outer space. If do not have competitive capabilities in this, then you lose the war, because this is where the information is controlled and information is denied to the enemy. I've explained this in so many of my videos. Now, as far as the physical domain is concerned, what they have done is land, as I said, because of automation, already the number of troops have been cut down. As far as air is concerned, now the responsibility of PLAF is only until 20 kilometers of altitude. As far as sea is concerned, the entire focus has shifted to subsea capabilities, which is 300 meters and below. So therefore, the Indian Navy would be well advised to focus in this area, to focus on submarines, to focus on subsea drones, and not really on aircraft carrier, because those days are gone. But this is a subject by itself. So the second thing that has happened in this, because of these reforms, is the 2014 military strategy and the reforms that followed in 2015. Important thing is that they came up with the concept of joint integrated operations, which means all these 6 domains which I have just mentioned in the physical and the virtual domain, how they can work together. So what we are looking at is electronic fire, electromagnetic spectrum fires, cyber fires, kinetic fires of different kinds, they all happening together. Now, as far as putting this together, the 6 domains is concerned, it's really, and this is what they call the informatized war, the PLA calls. So putting all these 6 domains together is really a technical issue, because what is required here is the networking of the people who are manning all these domains of land, air, sea, cyberspace. You have to only network them. It's only a technical issue. But what you get out of this informatized war is something spectacular. Instead of a war of attrition, here once again, like in the war zone, you are looking at a cognitive war. Because when you have all these fires coming with enormous speed, the speed of light, many of them, then that is where the cognitive capabilities of the commanders, they are affected. And once again, this is about cognitive confrontation. Now the next and the ultimate that the PLA is working on is, and of course in the informatized war, all these domains, they are networked by software networks, which is what the PLA calls the operational system, and the US called the battle networks. The Indian military doesn't have them at all, because all the 3 services are not even networked. As I said, that the next is what is called the intelligence-sized war, putting the artificial intelligence in war, in everything. And what the PLA calls intelligence-sized war, the Americans have given different names to this, which is joint all-domain operations, mosaic war, algorithmic war. So different names have been given. Now this is all about autonomy. So from automation of the mechanized war coming to autonomy. And autonomy will be in stages. It will not happen suddenly. But what will happen is in autonomy is that whereas in the mechanized war, the whole talk was about how many minimal people are required to control a platform, in this war, it will be about how many platforms can a single human being control. Which means, as far as the manpower is concerned, as various stages of autonomy happen, we will see drastic cuts in manpower of the PLA ground forces here. And as far as the intelligence-sized war is concerned, it is about putting AI and making the software networks into intelligent networks, putting the AI into various platforms, like guns or tank or humanoid robots being there, and they will be called things in this, because the concept will be with the baseline or the infrastructure being the 5G, which can give enormous bandwidth. What you are looking at is IoT, Internet of Things, which I would like to call in the war the Internet of military things. So what will happen is that, to begin with, there is a strong center. The center controls everything, because all these things, whether it is the sensors or it is the physical manifestation, your guns, they all are things. So they basically they are less intelligent, which are controlled by a very powerful center. Now slowly as the autonomy grows, what will happen is that first there will be human command and robot control, implying that the human will command a lot of things, and there will be what is called human machine collaboration, which means from a strong center, we will be looking at a center which is not controlling right straight away the things, but which is controlling many intelligent nodes. The nodes are also intelligent, which in turn are controlling intelligent things through an intelligent network, something that I will explain in my next video, and its implication also to the war. So suffice is to say here is that from human machine collaboration, we'll be looking at human machine teaming, where the humans and the machines, they will work together. In my assessment today, the PLA is already accomplished or reached the stage, primarily because of what the help that it has got from the Indian military, something I'll explain in my next video. They are today at a stage where a single human being can control several intelligent nodes, each node controlling many intelligent things through an intelligent network. So overall, what we are looking at is something like this, that this war that we are talking about is really where the physical and the virtual domains, now they have come together, they are fully integrated. The virtual domains are totally integrated with space, as I said, and become very important. And then eventually, as more and more autonomy comes, the center will become weak, and the command and control will go from human to the machines, which means that new doctrines will be required, new war concepts will be required, so the character of war will also change. And the key thing will be intelligence supremacy will be the key thing here. And what eventually overall we'll be looking at is a mix of cognitive and operational dynamics. So in this video, what I have said is that a very major stage of autonomy has already been achieved by the PLA. In my next video, I will explain what that means and how the Indian military has helped. Thank you so much.